Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
So far, good. We're just hanging out today. Actually, have my son's basketball game here in an hour.
That sounds awesome. A basketball game can be a lot of fun. How's your son's team doing this season?
They're actually 3-2.
Nice. 3-2 is a solid start. Sounds like they're having a pretty good season so far. Are they feeling confident about today's
So
game?
one of the things that we struggle with, especially with him, is having him play as hard as he does when he practice, or as he does when he's playing against his cousins in the driveway. Like he's a maniac in the driveway, but very timid during the game.
I get what you mean. It's pretty common for kids to really let loose in a comfortable environment, but then they can hold back during official games.
Exactly.
Maybe it's just.
Real quick, what's the weather for here for in Cincinnati for today?
Let me look that up for you. One moment while I check the weather in Cincinnati for today. So, today in Cincinnati, looks like it'll be cloudy with temperatures around 32 to 33 degrees Fahrenheit. Some light snow possible around midday, and a bit of a breeze from the southwest. So definitely bundle up and be ready for some chilly weather at the game.
Awesome. Any ideas on restaurants me and the family can go to after the game?
Sure, Cincinnati's got some great spots for families. Are you thinking something casual like pizza or burgers? Or maybe more of a sit down place with a variety of options?
Yeah, definitely sit down, but sit down casual because we'll be coming from a game. And of course, my son will have his basketball uniform wearing.
Got it. A sit down casual place sounds perfect. You could check out places like Dewey's Pizza. They've got a fun, family friendly vibe and great pizza. Or maybe a place like.
Okay, so what I'm building here, this is me testing out the Real Time API hosted by OpenAI. So these are the same voice mode capabilities you have with ChatGPT. But I'm customizing this for a couple of reasons. One, I want to have full control over which AI model the AI voice is leveraging. And this is what I find out. So this to make this work is actually stacked in many different layers. And there are some nuances that I still need to overcome. So at the very beginning of the stack is the real-time API. And this is where this does a couple of things. This API does a couple of things for us. One, it provides the voice. So that voice that you heard, I think that's Marin. And you have 6 or 7 to choose from depending on the model or the version of the real-time API that you're using with OpenAI. The model that we're using, and here's my whole thing is I want to use the latest and greatest of everything throughout the stack, right? So the latest real-time API model is GPT real-time, right? And then they have the right endpoint for that. So the way that you connect to this, so I have a React app in the front, and the way it connects to this is a WebSocket. So very similar to the call and response that we're used to with a standard website. So you make a request and then it gets processed on the server. Then you get a response, either straight HTML or JSON or text or whatever the case may be. And then the browser renders that to see, so you can see the response from your request. In this scenario, this is actually opening up like a tunnel to where you have a direct connection to the server, and it's going to string bits back and forth through that tunnel. And that's why it's called the real time. Now, when you're dealing with OpenAI, and this is the nuance that I get with ChatGPT and some of the other voice mode capabilities, is that this real-time API is going to give you grounded information of information that it was last trained with. So what you saw with the example that I gave is actually doing a real-time lookup against the internet and bringing that back. It doesn't do that out of the box, right? So in ChatGPT, sometimes you have to check that box that says web search, so that way you kick it. In this scenario, based on what I'm seeing, it actually has a very small classifier. I think that's the term that they're using now. But basically, it takes in the text that you're asking, like whatever your question is, and then it classifies that question and it returns what to do next. I built this in. So this is a custom piece in. And this is the benefit of building these out, because now you can fine tune it to do exactly what you need. So to get beyond the grounded data, and I think this is used in probably like October of 2023 or whatever, but more importantly, it uses I would say more importantly, but I think it's using GPT 4.0 as the model, right? And I want to use like 5.2, and I want to do real-time lookup, right? I want to go beyond the data that is grounded in. I probably want to do these different things like grounded data of maybe like, here's a real world example. I'm taking all of my YouTube videos, I'm going to transcribe them, and then I'm gonna dump them in a Cosmo DB, vectorize them, chunk them, vectorize them, and all this other good stuff. So any question that I ask, it's going to look at the transcription from all my videos and return a response. And I'm going to make it smart to where I'm going to favor the latest information first at the top, because things change over time. Like how you develop a SharePoint intranet, as an example, is way different than my video that was posted in 2012 compared to the one that was posted in 2024. Right, as an example, because that one's like on-prem, the other one's like modern SharePoint in the cloud. So I need to favor the latest video from the time that the video was published, so I want full control of that. So I'm gonna have grounded YouTube data. I'm gonna have my emails grounded, right? So I'm gonna have Cosmo. It's gonna have all my emails, and it's gonna be basic, right? It's gonna be the subject line of the email and then the body of the email. All of that would be grounded in Cosmo, and so on and so forth. So you see how I'm really fine tuning in addition to the web search. So in order to make that happen, you have this classifier, and for each one of those pieces that I want the real-time, the agent or AI to respond with, I'm going to register different functions, right? So there's a tool that allow you to call functions. There's a tool that allow you to call the web. That tooling is not available in this setup at the real-time layer. So what you have to do is, doing this classifier, you have to register all of your functions, give it the description of what the type of information that function have, and when it should decide to call that particular function. And then it will automatically call that function, send the question, and then it will execute and then return the response. Here's the other thing that I really want to fine tune. This piece right here, or each one of these functions, I want to use the right model for their scenario, right? So for my email searching or grounding and things along those lines, I probably want to use like a GPT-5 mini or maybe a GPT-5 nano, right? I need to test those out to see which one I can get the best results for the cheapest process. This classifier, I'm absolutely using GPT-5 nano because I want that decision to be as fast as possible. I want it to be efficient, and there's not a lot of smarts needed for it to make a decision, right? Because really, like if I register 10 or 20 functions, and in each one of those have a description, it just needs to reason over those descriptions, and based on the question asked, figure out what function to call. And it may be multiple. It may be call this function, then this function, or chaining, or whatever the case may be. So I want to have full control over the grounding, like how these functions work, the model used in each one of these functions, and then I can do very interesting things. Let me back up a little bit. So the one thing I want to do absolutely is go from the chat completion endpoint to the responses endpoint, right? And each one of these functions will use the responses endpoint. And what does that give me? The responses endpoint is going to give me a lot more control of how these different functions operate. So say, for example, if I am asking questions about email, did I receive an email from the mortgage company about the end of year tax statement or something like that? Or have I received this yet? And they may say, yeah, you received it. Like, it's going to search my email. Like, it will know what function to call, search the Cosmo DB for that email. And all of these will be grounded, like the current date and all this other good stuff. So I can speak to things in a relative or contextual way. But the responses will allow me to specify which model to use very easily. I can swap those out very easily, dynamically, like in the code, like it has those options. And two, if needed, I can set the tool for that particular function call to also search the internet. So I can ground it on two different sources of data and then have it do the right reasoning and then respond back with that data. So that's one of the reasons why I'm using the responses, because when it comes to this dynamic setting the different parameters, like the reasoning level, the verbosity level, which model to use, like all of that is really just swapping out values in that payload that you send out. Now, a couple of things that I'm noticing here, and this is why I really want to get full control over this. If you look at this one, so here I got my different personas, right? So now what I can do, I can ground each one of these. These are personas or agents, whatever you want to call them. So this one is grounded in the Microsoft 365 technologies, right? So I can ask it questions about Azure. Okay, what is the best way to do this? Or maybe questions about Microsoft Foundry, or maybe questions about help me compare the difference between a logic app scenario versus a Power Automate scenario. What are the pros and cons? What should I look at? And it's going to be, I have full control over that prompt of the level of detail that I want it to have. And if needed, it can call grounded data. Here's the other thing that I love about that Microsoft Architect persona that I'm going to grow into. I'm going to create another function for that one and basically ground that, have that function called a CosmoDB, right? That's grounded with the Microsoft Learn data for that particular topic. So I can go to Microsoft, so Learn, I don't know the exact URL, but the Microsoft Learn from Microsoft Foundry. And if you haven't seen this yet, let me see if I can show you this. Okay, so here I am in Microsoft Foundry, right? Oh, let me go back. I want to be the top of, okay, so this is where I'm at, Microsoft Foundry. So it has all this information in here, like the different models, the model catalog, the tooling, agent services, like how to build agents, all this other good stuff. But more importantly, look at this guy right here. Download PDF. That's the game changer. Because what this sets me up to do, and this PDF has all of this content, all the sections, all the content in the pages for each section in this one PDF. And I think this PDF is 3,000 pages or something like that. And it's massive. Like I couldn't even print this thing out. Like it's massive. And I was trying to figure out how to make it short. But now what I can do, I can take this PDF, extract, run it through an OCR, and I love like 7,121 pages. Run this through an OCR. My OCR of choice within Azure is Document Intelligence Services. Run it through the OCR, have it extract out all of this data as plain text. Then what I would do is run this plain text into a model, probably like GPT-5 Mini or GPT-5 Nano. And I might have to use batching for this to save on the tokens in a major way. And what it's going to do is going to read all of this data, and I'm going to give it a character limit, and it's going to read that data, come up with an intelligent title for that data, and then chunk that data. So this is going to be a smart chunking mechanism. We've done this before, and we get very, very good quality results. Not vectorizing the data is one thing. Chunking the data, having a lot of control over the chunks of the data that's vectorized, has a direct impact on the quality of the results that you get when you start asking questions. And then, of course, there's best practices with leaving a buffer. So at the end of that chunk, there may be like 2 or 3 sentences that we will have in chunk 1. And then in chunk 2, those 2 to 3 sentences that we ended with in chunk 1, we will start with in chunk 2 and then have the unique content for chunk 2. So having a chunking strategy is going to be key. So we're going to vectorize all of this data. OCR, it seemed like the keywords are already there. So this should be very straightforward to extract this text out. So extract that text out, dump it into a CosmoDB, build a function, give it a description, and then register that function with the real-time agent. Register that function with the classifier, because the classifier would then say, oh, you're asking questions about Azure or OpenAI or Power Platform or Microsoft Foundry. Okay, I'm going to call this function. And then once I'm in that function, game over, because that function knows Here's the endpoint to Cosmo. The Cosmo, it knows to vectorize that query, run the query search. It's going to have the SQL to sort by recent. It's going to reason over that data, return the response, Like, it's going to be a beautiful thing. Okay, I think that's it. So without that, this is what you get. So I don't have any of these functions registered. And this is why people kind of poo-poo on GPT. It's not giving me the real-time data. It's hallucinating. It's doing all this other good stuff. The problem is that you're using an old model, and they do this intentionally because they want to keep it fast. The response is fast, right? And you're reasoning over data that was trained, that has a timestamp of the training of October 2023. So let me show you the difference. So if I go here, switch over to the archetype, this does not have any internet information and is only using the grounded data that's part of the real-time API layer in the stack. So here's the difference. Hey, how's it going?
Hey there. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
So far, good. So I want to build AI agents in Azure. Can you walk me through high level of what that entails?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to walk you through it. Building AI agents in Azure typically involves a few key components. First, you usually start with Azure Cognitive Services, things like language services, speech, and vision APIs. These give your agent the ability to understand.
Right. So here, you notice that, right? Two things if you notice as I was talking to it. One, it did not do the searching thing, right? So it stopped here. It stopped at this layer here, right? It did not I don't have a classifier, so it doesn't have any classifier or anything like that to look at this enriched functionality with this enriched data with way more control over how to respond to this. So it stopped here, and the data it gave me was based off of October 2023. Azure Cognitive Services, like Microsoft haven't used that term probably in the last 18 months. Everything has been Microsoft Foundry, AI Foundry, agents, and so the language services, like all that old built-in AI stuff, and they didn't even mention Azure OpenAI or any of that stuff, right? So that's the issue that people run into, and they say, oh, the AI is hallucinating, it's not giving me the latest information. I tried this and it's wrong. Like I can't even find the stuff it was telling me to do, because you have to understand where in the stack is. So now when I update this, what's going to happen is that I'm going to build that PDF, I'm going to build that grounded data in CosmoDB, and then I'm going to come in here under settings, and then under my React app here, I'm going to have my function, and I will be able to set my function here, right? So this is going to be my Microsoft Foundry data, or I don't know, I'll come up with a cool name for it, right? And then instead of GPT-5 Mini, this is going to probably use, no, I think GPT-5 Mini or maybe GPT-5 Standard, right? And then I'm going to set the reasoning levels and all this other good stuff, because most of those questions may be complex, right? And then the other thing in the system prompt, again, this is why you want to have way more control over this. In the system prompt, I'm going to tell it to do, because I'm an architect, I'm a lead developer, I'm hands-on. Let's not do surface high-level theory. Let's go very deep, right? Name the services, name the table, get into the technical details of the response, because I'm there and that's what I'm looking for, right? So now I can control the prompt on the level of detail that I'm expecting. And then for each one of these tools, I have another prompt for my functions, right? So if we go down here and go under functions, this is where I define a function, right? So this is where I'm defining the Microsoft Foundry RAG, maybe I call it RAG, Microsoft Foundry RAG, and then the scenario, again, this is where you give the classifier. This is super important. Why to call this function, give it the prompt, the details of the function, the trigger keywords. I have this in there now, but I'm not going to use this, right? I want this piece, maybe I will. Like if they say Microsoft Foundry or Azure OpenAI or ... maybe those are keywords that I will use. The model, again, I think I'm going to do GPT 5.2. Again, this is why I love this, because I can tailor make. Now, and this is not something you can buy, right? This is something that I built, right? So I use an AI coder. I built the UI, and the front end and all this other good stuff to give them the flexibility and do all the connection with the real time dot. So I have this built, but now I'm a tailor make it to my personal needs. Now, here's the other thing with this piece. I'm not building an app, and this absolutely needs to work on my phone in portrait mode. This absolutely needs to work on my phone. And I tell you why I went down this journey, and I'm gonna wrap up because I know we're about 23 minutes in. The reason why I went down this journey is because I have a commute dropping my kids off and picking them up from school. And that's usually like 45 minutes each way. And I want to use that time for skilling up, right? So, or maybe there's an issue that I have and I want to use the AI to help me brainstorm on this. The way I operate, I'm driving and I have my phone in a cell phone holder in the car, and then I Bluetooth my phone through my stereo system within the car, right? And the Teslas have really good microphones and the speakers, and usually there's no feedback and all this other good noise cancellation. All this stuff is really good. I say all that to say I'm having a natural conversation with it, but I'm getting frustrated that the voice mode in ChatGPT I don't have the controls I need, like the latest model, the grounded data. When I'm asking it questions, forcing it to look up versus keeping me at this level of the stack and giving me October 2023 responses with GPT 4.0. Of course, I can tell it, look up, do a web search to find the latest on, like I'm prompting it to do that. But man, it would be so much easier if I can just speak naturally and it picks it up. So I'm tailor making this scenario to where it fits my needs and it fits my lifestyle. And this is where you are. So when you have an AI coder, one, you can build this front end, like this nuanced stuff very quickly. And then the architect or technical design in you can now tailor make this to fit your lifestyle. And it's about to be bananas. Like I'm super duper excited about it. And I will just keep you guys posted in the next round of videos as I dig deeper and fine tune this AI solution. Any questions, put them in the chat. I'll respond as fast as I can. But this is what we're working with as a 2026. The build versus buy. I keep trying to tell you guys this. The build versus buy, I'm leaning heavy on the build because you can tailor make it. You can build in the features that you need that's right for your business and process. And you can just move more efficient. You can you have more control over those nuances that could be a game changer for your business or for your process. Build versus buy. I'm leaning more and more every day towards the build.